Mums with Hustle podcast, episode 490.
Welcome to the Mums with Hustle podcast, where you'll discover everyday mum entrepreneurs killing it in their industry. Learn the secrets you can replicate to create your own success with your host, Tracy Harris.
Welcome back to the Mums with Hustle podcast. Today I want to share with you a bit of a personal win. I'm so excited to jump on the mic. I actually just shared this with the women inside of my Inner Circle Mastermind because when it happened, I said to my husband, who do I have to share this with that's going to get it and understand? You know, when you experience something and you're like, oh gosh, who do I share this with? And so for me, this was one of those experiences. I'm so fortunate and I don't take for granted that I shared it with my husband. Actually, he was there. He was supporting me. And he is like my best friend and my ride or die. And so he was absolutely elated and knew the enormity of this milestone for me. But other than him, I was like, where else can I go and share? And so before I shared it with the mastermind ladies, I went into my family group chat. So this is a group chat with my mum, who, by the way, is here with me in Bali. I feel like I have so much to catch you up on. I've barely been present on Instagram over the last 2 weeks because, number one, I flew my mum to Bali on a beautiful holiday. I surprised her by getting her picked up from the airport and having a car not bring her to our villa, which is what she was expecting, but it took her to a resort instead. And myself and my family were standing there greeting her, and we kicked that off. And oh my gosh, it's just been endless memory making and fun and spoiling her, like one surprise after the other after the other. I feel like I have to record a podcast on this at some point because this is part of the reason why I have my business, is to be able to enjoy life, have more freedom, have more finances to be able to give back to charity. You ladies know that that one is massive for me. I believe that God blesses us with wealth so that it can be shared, but also so that we can really live an extraordinary, beautiful life and share it with the ones that we love. And so flying my mum over here was like a really cool, big milestone for me. It's like one of the coolest, or probably the coolest thing I've ever purchased, I guess. And it's just been so wonderful. But I digress, right? I've been a little bit quiet on the socials. That's why. And then in and amongst mum being here, it was also my birthday. I turned 41 years old. And now, so only 2 days into being 41, I achieved this next milestone, which I am going to get to. I'm very aware. I'm giving you the backstory. Oh my gosh. Okay, so celebrated with hubby. And before I went and I told my Inner Circle Mastermind ladies, I went into my family group chat. So mum's in there, my brother, his partner, my sisters, their hubbies, my 18-year-old niece is in there. It's just us. It's just my nuclear fam bam. And so I shared with them, and they were, of course, so happy and so supportive, as much as they can be, given that they've never had this goal or this experience or achieved this thing. But they were thrilled for me. They know it's a big deal. So anyway, it was not a business win, okay? I was celebrating a personal fitness win, a strength win to be specific. Now, if you have been in my world since, when did I first share that this was a goal? I feel like I shared it back in 2020, that it became a goal of mine to be able to do an unassisted pull-up from a dead hang position. Now, straight away, some people are going to know exactly what that is and the level of strength required. They're going to know the average amount of women that are actually able to do even just one of these is 0. That's the average. And so for me, when I picked that as a goal back in 2020 to just, now this week, turning 41 and 2 days later, having my personal best of doing seven 7 unassisted pull-ups. No elastic bands supporting me, no step or box, no feet on the ground first, no jumping to get momentum, no swinging of my body, just a pure vertical, straight body, feet off the ground, hanging, dangling, arms at a full extension, and pulling myself up from that position. And doing 7 reps over 3 sets, not 7 in a row, 7 over 3 sets, so a minute or 2. But I was so proud of myself, and it made me think about how important it is to have a vision that is then supported by a goal or a set of goals which lead to the fulfillment of the vision. So in my case, the vision was being able to do an unassisted pull-up. That was my vision. And then having goals that are going to help me achieve that. And then within the goal, that there has to be a set of action steps that lead towards the goal. Not just general action steps, but specific ones, practiced with consistency. In other words, I had to have a targeted plan or a series of action steps that were in order, and I had to have that accountability. I had to consult an expert actually to help me learn how to do one, let alone what I achieved the other day. And it's the same thing for business. I really see it as no different, or anything else that you're learning in your life. This year on the podcast, I've shared or I've spoken about starting to ride a scooter here in Bali. It's no different to that, right? I had the vision of wanting to be able to do that, being one of those women riding around with their kids on the scooter or going to the gym, wearing my crop top, living my best Bali life. I had that vision. And then I had a goal of I'm going to learn how to ride a scooter by X date, right? So it had to be timely, like time bound, is the correct way to phrase that. It had to be time bound, like there had to be some kind of clear deadline, and it had to be specific and measurable. Like, how am I going to know that I'm going to be able to do it? So in the case of the pull-up, the measurableness was that it's from a dead hang position and it's one full unassisted pull-up. That is very specific. It is measurable. And I had a time frame on that. I wanted to achieve that within the year. Now, I did have another goal, and like a stretch goal, of being able to do 5 unassisted pull-ups, but I didn't put a time frame on that. And as I reflect on that now, I'm pretty sure I didn't put a time frame on it because I couldn't imagine even doing one. So it was just felt a bit silly to me to put a time frame on it. Now, could I have? Yes, I absolutely could have put a time frame on it, but I didn't. I started with just the one. And so then as we move into the next step in this process, the step is to get a series of action steps together. Like, you need to have a plan. You need to have actions that are a match for the goal. You can't just be out there taking any actions. You can't just be out there lifting any weights or going on a run or doing general strength training. No, if I had a very clear goal, I needed to have a fitness plan of actions that I was going to consistently practice that was going to result in me being able to do that movement of the unassisted pull-up. Because just doing strength training, even if it's lifting heavy, even if I'm getting stronger, if I'm not doing the right forms of strength training, I'm not going to be able to lift myself up. Because it's a whole other set of muscle groups that I need to engage in order to do a pull-up. And It's not just about bicep strength, or it's not just about my lats or whatever. Like, I've got to be able to work on all of the components, all of the muscle groups required to be able to pull me up into that position. And so I engaged the help of an expert, and I believe that this is the best thing we can do whenever we're learning anything new. Whether it's riding a scooter or learning to be a DJ or taking art classes or whatever it is, or being in business, I invest in myself and I engage in the help of an expert. So back in 2020, I went and I got a personal trainer, and I told them that my goal was to do this unassisted pull-up from the dead hang position. Such a specific thing. Whereas in the past, I've always worked on my fitness. Truly from the age of 8, I fell in love with physical activity because I experienced the benefits and the just sheer joy of it all. And even when I was in the pits of my own mental health struggles, fitness, it dropped off for a bit. And when the GP and my therapist said, Tracy, you got to be moving your body daily. Fitness is really great for your mental health, it just put it back on my radar. And I started loving myself in those ways again. And, it's important to seek the help of an expert. That's what I'm trying to get at. So I've always been a bit of a generalist with my fitness though. So I didn't really have a specific goal. I feel like prior to 2020, if you ask me what my fitness goals are, I would have said to tone up. That generally would have been, I just want to tone up, And I hear that from so many women and friends and other women in the gym. Quite often, that's what we say. There have, however, been times in my fitness journey where I have more of a specific goal. And when it's a specific goal, then I get to put in place a specific plan of actions towards that goal. But when I don't have a clear vision and a specific goal or set of goals to support that vision, I end up taking action steps, but it's just busy work. And it's the same thing in business. And that is what this whole podcast episode is about. It's not really about Tracy did her pull-ups. It's about the process and what goes into that and the importance of having a vision. What do you even want to achieve in business or in your life or in your fitness goals or in your lifestyle or in your relationship? What is it? What's the thing that you want? That's your vision. And you've got to actually want it. It's got to be your vision and not something you think you need to want or not someone else's version. And then you need to have a goal that supports that. And then underneath that, you need to have the action steps that align with that. Where do you go to know what actions and when to take? In my personal experience, we are not born knowing the action steps and when to take them and in what order. Whenever we embark on learning something new, we don't. Yet, when it comes to business, so many people resist or think that they should be able to do it without help, without a coach, without support, without educating themselves. And maybe they experience some level of success, but at one point or another, they stagnate or they don't know how to get higher than where they are. I saw an incredible business owner share on a social media platform just recently this week, and I left a comment in support. But she shared that over the past several years, she hasn't really focused on growing her business. And at the same time, she expected it to grow, and it hasn't. And she hasn't kept learning. She hasn't pivoted or innovated or responded to market changes. She hasn't really got any mentorship or anything like that at the moment. And, she's not surprised that her business was kind of dwindling. And she didn't like it. And so she's done something about it. And she's committed to getting back on the horse, so to speak, And I'm really proud of her. And so I just commented and I affirmed her. I was like, this is the attitude. This is it. You're back. Welcome back. This is the attitude. And the businesses that last the distance are the ones that consistently educate themselves and innovate and iterate. They're not just sitting around without a clear goal at any point in time. And they're not just sitting around doing the same old, and expecting to get better and better results. No. And so the same thing goes for our physical bodies. And this is what I just got reminded of the other day when I was able to do those 7 pull-ups. I just thought, I thought of Nelson Mandela's saying, nothing is impossible. Oh no, what is it? Everything is impossible until it's done. That's it. Everything is impossible until it's done. And when I achieved those 7 pull-ups, I ran into a friend at the gym and I, squealed and I told her and she was like, I could never do that. And I was like, yes, you can. She's like, no, I can't. I can't even do 1. And I was like, but have you ever had that as a vision? Have you ever set that as a goal? And have you ever created a fitness plan or worked with a coach who gave you a fitness plan to be able to achieve it? And she's like, no. And I was like, then you don't get to say that you can't do it. So there you go. And it's the same principle for when I didn't know how to swim up until the age of, I'm talking proper swimming, proper freestyle, didn't know how. Just kind of move my arms around busily in the water and hope for the best. Kind of made it to the end every now and then. I would just doggy paddle a bit. But in prior to having my first son, so he's 11 now. But yeah, prior to having him, I decided that I was going to learn how to swim. That was my vision. I was like, I am no longer going through life saying that I don't know how to swim. And I made a true decision and I set a goal to do a triathlon. Had never done one of those before, but I was already a bit of a runner. To do a triathlon because that was my accountability. Now I really had to swim. I had to learn how to swim. And I think I've shared this on the podcast before, so I won't go into too much detail on that. But it was literally the same thing. And I needed an action plan, a training plan and a bit of a regime to be able to achieve that goal or reach that destination or achieve that result. It didn't happen without first having the vision, then having the goal, and then having the set of action steps, next best steps. And that's what I offer inside of my programs. Inside of the Social Method Society, I am giving women quite literally the step-by-step of how to create a business using Instagram from scratch, all the way from identifying your ideal client, what is your brand, telling your story, showing up powerfully and magnetically as you, content creation, through to how to sell on Instagram, how to scale, all of that is covered inside of the Social Method Society. That is your plan. So if your vision is to be able to have a business and market it through Instagram so that you can work from anywhere and have more time for the people that you love, then the best place for you is to come in and join us in the Social Method Society. And you can email us hello@mumswithhustle.com to either get on the wait list for that or to inquire about coming in and just joining us today. But we'd love to have you. And if you're in the season of growing a digital product business or scaling one, maybe a course, a membership, a mastermind, a coaching business, I would love for you to reach out and just email us and inquire about joining my Freedom-Filled Business mentorship, because that's what I'm supporting women in doing inside of that container. So that focus is more on digital offer creation and digital business, including launches and sales of those digital offers. But that's all only going to be handy if you know what you want. So have a vision, have goals, and then create yourself an action plan of the right steps in the right order and get the support of an expert to support you in that, but also to be your accountability or to have community around you as you're building this, and just make it be fun instead of a painful journey. So that's really what I wanted to come on and share with you all today, the importance of that. And I shared with my masterminders also that I'm reading a book at the moment. It's called Be Useful, and it's by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's a really great read. And he spends the first 1 or 2 chapters really talking about the importance of vision and goals and action plans to be able to go after things that the world will tell you is impossible. And, this is a man that has achieved so much. He even acknowledges that, if he could go back and do it all over again, he would prioritize, he would do things very differently when it comes to family. And you ladies know that is something that is my highest value. Like, I'm not prepared to compromise on the time and the love and the years and the precious memory making with my family for the sake of like growing at a faster pace or whatever that might be, because I do believe that there's more than one form of wealth. Like, the only form of wealth is not money. No. Like, if you have forgotten that, or if you didn't know that, like, you've been somehow sold into a false illusion that like money is the only form of wealth. But there's our time. There's our time with our loved ones that in this current season that we will never be able to get back again. So anyway, I do recommend the book. It's brilliant. And he's got a really simple and different way of explaining the importance of vision and an action plan in the achievement of what the world will tell you and what you will often tell yourself is impossible. Nothing is impossible. So there you go, my friends. Questions and thoughts, things for you to ponder on this beautiful day, whether you're listening on the Monday of this podcast coming out or some other time in the future. I am so grateful that you are here, and I'm more energized than ever to really have more women building a digital business in a freedom-filled way. There are more people on the internet than ever before talking about or leading their brands with the promise of freedom. And I really love that. Like, that's beautiful. Yes to that. But freedom is not the carrot that you need dangled in front of you. You can create freedom today in your life in the smallest of ways, by protecting your boundaries, by getting really clear on your values, by living according to those values, by saying yes to that trip or yes to that night out with your husband instead of always saying no and choosing to live later instead of living now. Freedom is something that we can have in the now. It's like, how can I build my business with freedom now, even though I don't have the results yet? How can I build my business with freedom now? That's our edge. That's our difference. I'm not talking about struggling your way to freedom or putting in all this hard yakka and then, sorry, if you're not from Australia, that phrase may just be like, you may have just been like, what did you just say, Tracy Harris? All this grind, all this hard work, like a real hideous sort of hustle mentality, only to reward yourself with freedom if by the grace of God, you're still alive to enjoy it. Like, let's not be so foolish. So we want to be building our businesses right now around the sort of lifestyle and family and freedom that we want to enjoy now, not rewarding ourselves with freedom or with time further down the road when we have made it. And I'm using air quotes here with my hands. And if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you value that too. And that's what makes this community different. I love you all lots. I'm grateful that you are here. And I look forward to seeing you inside of one of my programs if you are already one of my mentees. And if you're not, and if you're curious about stepping in to one that is right for you, please just email and I can get back to you, or we can get back to you and let you know. You can email us at hello@mumswithhustle.com. And I will see you back next week on the podcast. Bye.